And it's pretty fighting for fighting recommend. I really want to keep this high level of conversation with customers. And if we bring a lot of team out, we make sure that it's helpful. So anyone can, you guys are welcome to join us. My organization is that we make sure that we're focused. That's my thought.
Hello, everyone. We are waiting for the attendee list to fill out, and we will get underway. We appreciate everybody hopping on. We will get started in a minute. Hey, folks, we are seeing some pickup here, so we'll give it another minute to let folks get in and get settled here. So. And I will say, we've seen a couple hands raised. I know buttons are new and everybody's got a different video option probably available to them, but we do want to see questions and hands raised, and we do have Q&A at the end, so we love to see it. And I see Daniel out there just asking, is there a question, or maybe we just hit a wrong button. That's, if you have questions, please post them because we will get them to the end. There are a lot of folks registered, so we want to address some of those questions towards the end. All right. I think at the 10:04 we'll get going. Yeah. Welcome everybody. We'll get going at 10:04 here. All right, there we are. Daniel, do I have the green light?
Yes, sir.
All right, it's a well-oiled machine here. Thank you all for joining. My name is David Mefford, AWS sales leader here. And less than 4 weeks ago, we saw the market respond to Deepseek, and our customers had questions, actually lots of questions. And today is an opportunity for us to distill what we've seen, share our insights, and empower you to make model decisions, essentially. So it's my pleasure to introduce and do this alongside our partner Loka, today's co-host for the session. Loka is an AWS Premier Partner, and in 2024, AWS Innovation Partner of the Year, specializing in AI, ML, and cloud native solutions. They've helped over 200 customers of ours actually build and scale AI-powered applications on AWS. And what's impressive there, and probably one of the bigger questions that we get all the time, is what makes it into production, right? And they've got a 40% success rate taking POCs into production, one of the highest that we see across our partner network, actually. And so their expertise in Gen AI, data migrations, and optimizing AI workloads for performance and efficiency are one of the reasons why we tap them quickly to help us respond to some market pressure and market questions. And here we are. So this is a look at some of the presenters that you're going to see today. I've quickly kicked this off, and I want to send this over to my friend Ben Schreiner, head of AI and modern data strategy here at AWS, to give his thoughts and his perspective on why this isn't just a Deepseek conversation, but this will be an ongoing conversation as model proliferation and innovations continue to occur. So, Mr. Schreiner, without further ado, I will send this over to you.
Thanks, David, and thanks our friends at Loka for pulling this together. Could not be more excited, not just about this particular webinar, but also about the opportunity that it presents to all of you out there. This is a truly exciting time, and while the Deepseek announcement, 3+ weeks ago was a surprise, it caught a bunch of folks off guard. It had a significant impact immediately on NVIDIA's stock price. You saw it drop, and the headlines the day after was that $600 billion of market valuation evaporated with the release of DeepSeek. And that day, I posted on LinkedIn a perspective, and I want to share a little bit of that with you. And it's simply that we all need to take a deep breath. And what DeepSeek did is commendable. It is innovation. And what I like most about it is that it's open source. So they didn't keep it for themselves for profit. They made it available to everyone, and now it's available to you on AWS, which you'll hear more about. But this innovation and the making it of open source allows the entire industry to take a step forward in reasoning models and in their approach to, again, moving AI forward for the benefit of all, again, because it's open sourced. The thing I want to call out as well, and I did in my initial remarks, was that DeepSeek innovates at one layer of kind of the stack, if you will. And there's a hardware layer where obviously NVIDIA and hyperscalers like AWS play, and there will be innovations at a chip layer. There's innovations at a model algorithm layer, and then there's innovations at an application layer and how applications leverage different models. And what we see and what Amazon has been trying to do is to innovate at all three layers. And again, kudos to the DeepSeek folks for making it open source, though, that all of us now can benefit from their insights in innovations. I think post-announcement, there was a lot of validation, there was a lot of scrutiny, but simple truth is the open source nature allows all of us to take advantage of the innovations that the DeepSeek team uncovered. Amazon's approach and AWS's approach to AI, and we've been doing AI now for several decades inside our own operations. Hopefully you're familiar with things like Alexa, and you get packages delivered, and all of that is driven by advanced AI and modern data strategies. But our philosophy has always been incredibly customer obsessed. And so taking a page from our Amazon.com playbook, we intend to do the same thing in the AI marketplace, which is to have as much choice as possible for you, the consumer, so that you can make an educated decision on what model best suits your particular needs. And models come in all shapes and sizes. They've been trained on all kinds of different data, and they're better at different things. And you, as the consumer, are best suited to decide which model is going to serve your needs the best in the most cost and performant manner. And so our goal is to make available as fast as we possibly can as many models as possible and make it as easy for you to consume them and build on top of them to solve your business needs or the challenges that your industry or your customers face. And our good friends at Loka have been pioneering in this space, helping customers deep understanding of the problem, as well as the various solutions. And one of the things we like, again, about this approach is it allows you to take a use case and compare it to different models, so that you can make an educated decision on which model actually is going to best meet your needs. And I think, if I were to give you some advice, I think we all need to build with the expectation or solve problems with the expectation that this landscape, as the last month has shown, is only going to continue to evolve. These models are going to continue to get better. The innovations are going to continue to keep coming. And all of you as leaders need to think about how we solve problems in a more iterative manner. Gone are the days where you buy something off the shelf and you install it and you just use it for years, as is. This iterative approach, I think, is going to be the way that all problems are going to be solved going forward, allowing you to be agile in your response, not just to your customers, but also to the innovations that are coming out from some of these great companies. So I've said this a couple of times now, and I'll leave you with this before I turn it over to the Loka team, is that if you've been in IT longer than, let's call it, 6 months, you've seen a lot of change. And I've been in it for a couple of decades now, and I can honestly say that I've never seen this pace of change. And I'm sure our audience is feeling the pace of change as it's happening to all of us, and it's happening all around us. And quite frankly, it's hard to stay on top of all of it. And that's why AWS and our friends at Loka are here to help you understand the changes and really take advantage of this transformation. It's our belief that AI will be built into all software going forward. It'll impact and augment most job functions, helping you automate tasks that can be automated, and helping you enhance the tasks that you're doing. We're seeing use cases from every industry, from every size company. It's truly inspiring what we're seeing being done. And these kinds of step function changes in capability that Deepseek represents just fuel my passion and hopefully yours for what's ahead. And so I'll leave you with this, that 2 years ago, we couldn't do some of the things we can do today with technology. There's been huge advances in the last 2 years. And I would submit to everyone that right now, we can't do what we're going to be able to do 2 years from now. And so I encourage you to take advantage of today, start learning as much as possible, partner with folks who've done this before and can help you accelerate your learning, but really focus on real problems that your company and your customers face, and solving those in a cost-efficient manner so that you maintain a strong ROI with whatever you choose to apply this transformational technology. It's truly an incredible, exciting time, and I encourage the entire audience to embrace it. Change is going to be a constant for sure, if it hasn't been for you already. And the pace of change, I don't foresee it slowing down. So I think we all need to buckle up, enjoy the ride, and partner with folks, because you're not in this alone. We're all in this together, and we want to make the most of the opportunity that's been being presented to all of us. And so, without further ado, I will gladly turn it over to our friends at Loka and Bjorn.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. Really awesome intro. So yeah, as Ben said, and as everyone here knows, the current AI landscape is incredibly crowded. like we have thousands of tools, different frameworks, different platforms that are promising to us that we can accelerate our AI adoption and development. However, navigating through all of this complexity is still, let's say, hard and challenging for most of the teams. So that's when AWS stands out in this case. So AWS is pillared in four main pillars. The first one is seamless. So to deploy an AI solution on AWS, it's simple as it could be. With the one click, you can integrate smoothly whatever you want in your existing infrastructure and move extremely fast from a prototype to a production-ready application. You have the flexibility. So you have access to most of the open source models that are currently available, plus the foundational models that are available from different frontier labs. So here you have the access of 400K plus open source models that are available on Hugging Face or any other tools that is available in the open source community. The scalability, which is, I think, really important for each of the businesses. So AWS services dynamically scale with your demand by removing anything that is like in the middle of it. So the burden of managing infrastructure and only to focus on the main development cycle. And lastly, which is extremely important, is the security. So with AWS and the services that AWS provides, you are sure that your data is staying encrypted. It's at both rest and transit, and also it's never shared externally, giving you enterprise grade of security and compliance, which is extremely important from what we've seen with the development of Deepseek models and similar other open source models. So with AWS, organizations can move extremely fast, right? From building efficiently to scaling confidentially in rapid evolving AI landscape, which we are part of it in these days. Knowing all of this, it's clear that AWS provides a powerful foundation for building and developing scalable AI solutions. But now the question is, okay, what are the services on AWS we can use to let's say, build an efficient AI solutions? The answer, of course, is Amazon Bedrock and Amazon SageMaker AI. So let's check the advantages of Amazon Bedrock for generative AI. So we know now the recipe of developing powerful LLM models, reasoning models, because it's provided by Deepseek AI. And that means that, as Ben said previously, more powerful and more stronger models are coming. And the best part of it is that with Bedrock, you can seamlessly plug and play these new models, these open source models, into your existing infrastructure with only 3 or 4 clicks. So you have the same pipelines, you have the same configuration, and you can deploy everything like in lightning speed. So Bedrock offers us enormous selection of models. As we said, all of the models from the big frontier labs like Anthropic, Meta, but also all of the open source models that can be found on Hugging Face or any place on the internet. At the same time, Bedrock ensures that all of the data that we are using to do an inference with the LLM remains secure and private. Plus, it complies with all of the key regulatory standards like HIPAA and GDPR, which is really important for a lot of the industries these days. Another major advantage is that you have the ability to really easily customize your models by fine-tuning them on really specific data. Also, you can really easily deploy these customizable models, start to experiment with them by providing different prompts, testing, evaluating them, and really effortlessly integrating them in your already existing workflows. Also, one more thing which is extremely important is that Bedrock allows us to really simplify the monitoring of the output of our systems by adding additional layer of governance and guardrails, which will ensure that our system is providing the best outputs and the outputs that we actually expect from the system. So we have, let's say, a responsible AI. But now there's a question of, okay, what happens if we have a really highly specialized use case like medical Gen AI use cases or drug discovery, or what will happen if you are more technically savvy and you want to customize your pipelines by improving a lot of the stuff. Let's see how we can do that. Yeah, so that's easily done by utilizing Amazon SageMaker AI. So Amazon SageMaker AI offers us unparalleled customization tailored to our specific business and industry use cases. So you can, again, have the access to vast array of different open source models or open source models you are building or training by your own. You can easily evaluate them or train them on custom data that is available in S3 buckets. And all of this process is extremely straightforward, ensuring that we have the best optimization and performance, but also having in mind the cost efficiency of the whole system. When we talk about the cost efficiency of the whole system, the main part that SageMaker AI allows us is to utilize one of the best custom-made chips, designed chips by AWS. And here I'm talking about Trainium and Inferentia. So if you want to develop a specialized GenAI model, an LLM model, which you will need to train it on a big scale of GPUs, here's like Trainium-based instances, which are high-performance instances, but also very cheap ones compared to the one that are built on NVIDIA GPUs, and you can seamlessly train your, let's say, LLM or Gen AI models on those chips. Additionally, if you want something for inference, to have a really stable model that is easily optimizable and easily scaled on SageMaker AI, you have the Inferentia 2 chips, which are perfect for cost-efficient inference pipelines. Other than that, SageMaker AI has some really awesome moments, like allowing us to build really customizable pipelines when we can put multiple steps of pre-processing our data, then to do some steps of model training or fine-tuning our specific models, and after that we can have some post-processing steps of the outputs. So this flexibility allows for really seamless integration in our workflows. So now when we know what AWS services we can utilize for different LLM models like Deepseek R1 or any open source model, I think we must put more emphasis on the privacy and the security of the data, which is really important. I want you to have this in mind, that every LLM API provider these days collects some user data in some form or another. And this is extremely critically when we work with LLM models and we work with sensitive data, so in really sensitive industries. Here I'm more talking about industries that are in like industries like healthcare, drug discovery, medical industries, and so on and so forth. So to ensure true privacy and security, we must, as organizations, take care of our own AI infrastructure. What that means? That means that we must host our LLM models on our own infrastructure. And the best thing here is that AWS Bedrock provides that by default, or with some simple tweaking, AWS SageMaker AI can provide that also. So by leveraging AWS services like Bedrock, organizations can really easily guarantee that their data remains in one region, in the region where the API is processed. So all the data is processed. They can be assured that no data will be shared with the additional model providers, which is, let's say, not the case with most of the LLM API providers. Also, the security in transit and at rest, so we can be sure that all of the data is encrypted at both rest and transit. And additionally, even at physical level, the data will never leave AWS infrastructure, which ensures a complete control and compliance with the regulatory standards. So here we're talking again about HIPAA, GDPR, and so on and so forth. Furthermore, all of these regulatory compliance are really important for most of the industries. And I want to put here the emphasis of utilizing, for example, Amazon Bedrock for your use cases. We had a lot of clients in the past that were, the first question was, okay, guys, we want to use LLM in our business case. What is the best way to make our data private, secure, but also to utilize the power of GenAI? And our solution is always AWS Bedrock. So having reviewed all of the different deployment capabilities like Bedrock and SageMaker AI, along with the specific advantages of each of the services, now I think we can, let's say, take more closer look of the power of distillation and distilled models before moving into the deployment demo. So I'm handing over the word to my colleague from Loka, Christian.
Thank you, Boyan. Really great description of AWS capabilities in terms of LLMs deployment, especially the security and privacy part. So I'm Christian Cardona, ML manager at Loka, and I will talk more about distilled models and more specifically the one that the Deepseek put as a public resource. So the distillation has been around for a while in the community, and the basic idea is that you build a strong model such Deepseek R1, 671 billion parameters. And then beyond that, you distill the knowledge from that model to, let's say, a more straightforward data set, and then you transfer all that model to more lighter models. In this case, we call those students. Deepseek choose Queen 2.5 and Llama 3.1 and 3.3 to do that, 6 of them, different sizes. We will see that in the next slide. But the big question or the big takeaway is why the distilled model? So you can reduce computational cost. You enable deployment in resource constrained environment, therefore cheaper hardware. And also you improve inference, all of these while you retain high accuracy. So then we can shift to more business-oriented perspective on the distilled models. And then we have seen in this table, I put performance instead of in terms of math 500 accuracy. However, you can do, and you can see the same trend in other kind of tests. However, you see the teacher model, Deepseek R1, is a highly accurate 97% in this test, and is general purposes. You can do what you need, but when you put that in a business context, it's going to be really difficult because such a big model is going to take a lot of resources. Therefore, is going to be pricey, and also the latency is not going to be the one that you need in your business. So that makes sense now to move for a more lighter and smaller model, such Queen 2.5, 1.5 billion parameter is 400 times smaller in comparison. And of course, you can see the accuracy be lower, 83%. However, just have in mind that you can be faster and cheaper. Really, the order of magnitude is huge. And then you can use that for customer support, for example, in retail, for real-time applications, mobile application, and short text generation. And then beyond that, you can go for more stronger models, 7 billion, 8 billion parameters, Queen, and also Llama versions, with improvements in the accuracy. And then you can do more interesting tasks, such as content writing, table processing, statistical analysis, or code generation, logical reasoning, short text generation, and different businesses like financial services or even software development. So you can go beyond the simpler model, and then you can go in for something more complex. So now, for more advanced tasks, we will utilize larger distilled models. We can see 14 billions and 32 billions parameters here, with some improvements in terms of accuracy, almost equal to the teacher one, the big one model. And then you can use this for text generation, math reasoning, complex data analysis, for financial forecasting, or multimodal tasks in different sectors, like banking or academic research. And then at the end, if you need or you have a use case, a more complex one, you can go for a 70 billion parameter, which is, in comparison, huge, but like 10 times smaller than the original one, the teacher one. And then you get more or less the same accuracy that the other two one. And now you have capabilities such as multimodal tasks, complex reasoning, and research-grade precision tasks. And in businesses that are super complex, such as healthcare and medical diagnosis, this will be super helpful. If you want more details about this, and also about deployments and using Bedrock, Inferentia, SageMaker, and also using Inferentia, as Boyan just mentioned, you can go to loka.com and see the Deepseek series. Next week, we are going to release the last one, talking more in depth about these use cases. So now we will move to the demo. We will go through the deployment of two of these distilled models in Bedrock and SageMaker. So I will hand it over to Harsh Patel from AWS. Thank you.
Is everyone able to hear me there?
Yeah.
Perfect. Awesome. So thank you guys so much. My name is Harsh Patel. I'm a solutions architect here at AWS. I'm also one of our AI and ML specialists here, and today I want to talk about how you can deploy DeepSeek models on our AWS infrastructure. We're going to be talking about two ways of doing that, one with Amazon Bedrock and one with SageMaker Jumpstart. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with either of these, Amazon Bedrock is the easiest way to build and scale GenAI applications with foundational models via a single API. On the other hand, SageMaker Jumpstart is a machine learning hub with foundational models, built-in algorithms, and pre-built ML solutions that you can deploy with just a few clicks of a button. Now, with both of those options, it's going to depend on your use case and what makes the most sense for your team. For example, SageMaker Jumpstart's ideal when you need complete control over your models and you want to fine-tune extensively, you want to optimize performance through specific instance selection, you want to leverage advanced ML ops capabilities like monitoring or CI/CD pipelines. On the other hand, something like Amazon Bedrock is going to be a bit more about simplicity and speed. It's a serverless experience that you get from where you can go from model to API very quickly. It has minimal operational overhead, and it's consumption-based pricing, which is a little different than using SageMaker Jumpstart there, where you will be paying for the underlying compute. So with that being said, through this demo, first, I want to start off by talking more about SageMaker Jumpstart and kind of how to use that there. The one thing I do want to mention with SageMaker Jumpstart is there are model providers that we work with. So the first thing you want to do is just navigate to your SageMaker console and then go to Studio. And you can see me here just navigating over there. Once you're there, you want to open up your SageMaker Studio and navigate down to Jumpstart. Here, like I mentioned, we have all our public models with different model providers that we work with. The one that we're focusing on today is Deepseek. And so you can navigate to Deepseek and see the 6 models that are provided there. Here, you can select the one that makes the most sense for your use case. For this demo, I'm looking at the Silkcoin 1.5B. And so you can open that up. And then once you take a look, you can see the About section, which kind of dives into what this model is, how it was made, what the summary of the model is. You can actually open the Hugging Face download link and take a look at the model artifacts, which we'll talk about in just a minute here. But essentially, you can go through and deploy this model directly from this console by just clicking deploy. Once you go there, you get the selection of your instance type, you get the selection of your initial instance count, your endpoint name, and this is where that customization really comes in. For example, your advanced settings, right? Your VPC settings, your encryption KMS key. All of these settings you can configure, and once you're good to go there, you can go ahead and deploy this. Now, for optimal performance, we do recommend a GPU-based instance type, such as the MLP5E48X large. But again, that's going to be completely up to you and your team for what makes the most sense. Once you go through that and you click deploy, and we'll actually open up that model. And it does take a little bit of time here, which is why the demo doesn't show the full model being deployed. But once that model has gone through, you're going to be able to invoke that model using the SageMaker runtime client with the invoke model API. So you can go through here, and then if you go to deployable models, you'll see the Deepseek R1 Disloquen right there with the endpoint status in service. Now, the other way that I want to talk about deploying a model today is with Amazon Bedrock, and that's where you have more of that simplicity. And so we're going to talk about two ways with Bedrock that you can do that. And so the first thing, obviously, we want to do is navigate to the Bedrock console, which you'll see me do in just a sec here. Once you're in that Bedrock console, we want to go to our model catalog. Now, the model catalog has our marketplace model offerings. So if you go to Deepseek, you'll see it says marketplace deployments, and there's 6 offerings available there. And you can select the one that makes the most sense for your use case. In this case, you can take a look at the 8B model, the Llama 8B distilled model. You have the model ID, you can have the model ARN, and similar to how we just use SageMaker Jumpstart, you're able to change your endpoint name, number of instances, instance type. And once again, this is hosted in SageMaker through marketplace deployments. And so once you go through, you'll see it shows up in the same spot in your SageMaker deployed models. And so essentially you can go through this similar to how you did previously, select your settings, go through that, change your advanced settings, and then once you're good to go, you can click deploy. Now, let's say there isn't a model in the marketplace deployments and you want to use a custom model. That's where we use something called custom model import in Amazon Bedrock. The one thing you do need is your model artifacts. So in this case, we have Distill Llama 8B on the Hugging Face website. You want to download these model artifacts and you want to upload those to an S3 bucket. Once they're uploaded to an S3 bucket, you can go back to this console model, custom model import page and kick off that import model job. So here we'll put things like the job name, the model name, the import settings. Here's where we can link it to the actual model artifacts. So you can see here's my Deepseek model artifacts in my S3 bucket. I want to select that bucket and use that for this model import job. Once again, this takes about 5 to 20 minutes depending on the model and with my experience. And so obviously through the demo, I'm not creating the import job and going through with it. But this is all you essentially are doing is configuring these settings. And once you're good to go, you can click deploy and it will create a model import job right here. As you can see, this one is completed. And once that's completed, you're able to then interact with the model. And so you can do this via API. You can also do this via the playground. You can actually use all these ways that we just talked about through the model playground. And so you'll see me here, just open that up and we can actually interact with it. And the main thing to highlight here is when you're working with Amazon Bedrock or SageMaker Jumpstart, you're still able to use the apply guardrail API. So if you have responsible AI policies, which we should all have, you're able to use that use those APIs while working with your application. And you can see in this example on the playground with the model we've just imported, we can actually test out guardrails directly in the playground. So first, just to kick it off, I put a sample question of how do you set up a Amazon VPC, just to see if the model's working and everything's going well. And you'll see that just gets pulled up here. There we go, and it goes through. The one thing I do want to highlight is with custom model import, you're charged based on inference of 2 factors, active model copies and the duration of activity. So the billing occurs in 5-minute windows, starting from the first successful invocation of each model copy. And then right here, you see we can set up a guardrail test. So here's my Deepseek test guardrail. This is essentially testing if a online tutoring business that only does mathematics tutoring is getting prompts of in-person tutoring for other subjects. And so you can see right here, can I set up an English in-person tutoring session? That should be denied, as it is a denied topic, and the model should behave accordingly. And so if we do that, you'll see, sorry, the model cannot answer this question. And so this is a really great way to experiment and play around with the model through the playground, but also by putting and deploying these models on AWS infrastructure, you do get that benefit of one, security and compliance, but also being able to use the APIs directly, being able to use the applied guardrail API, which is extremely important. I'll be more than happy to answer some questions on the guardrail side of things as well later on. But that's mainly what I want to talk about today. Once again, happy building, and I'm going to hand it back to David for the next step here.
Hey, thanks, Harsh, for going through that. I know we've seen a handful of questions come in, but we do want to pause now and take as many questions as we can, really, just given how quickly the landscape is changing. So the chat is open, and I see some hands going up. Daniel, would we prefer to just have them drop the questions in the chat, or are we going to unmute folks? And I would also welcome just the panelists to come back in for perspective as well. So,
Yeah, I think dropping in the chat is going to be the cleanest.
okay. The first question we have on there is, do I need to provide my API key to Bedrock, or will I pay as you go? Is the question.
Hey, I could take this one. So with Bedrock, it's a consumption-based pricing. So it's pay as you go based on a number of tokens and consumption use. So to answer your question, you don't need an API key specifically for Bedrock. It's a consumption-based model based on the token consumption. Steve, does that answer your question?
Yes.
David, next question.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you give me a good example of distillation? What is being distilled? That's the first question. And then the second follow-up to that would be, are the prompts cached to help with the distillation and performance?
All right, I think I can get that. Basically, what we are doing with the distillation is to make the big model learn everything, and that's why it's super big. But after all this learning, what we can do with the distill model is basically we create some data sets with reasoning questions or whatever we need to be learn faster, and those kind of targets like knowledge are gonna be transferred directly with the distillation, the distill model. So for example, in math, if you want a model specifically centrated or capable for math, what you do is you distill data just or more focus on maybe questions or knowledge regarding math, and then when you distill that knowledge directly to one specific model, you are gonna get like a specialist in this subject. So I think that more or less is kind of the idea. And the prompts are catch. I think you can do that, but it's gonna be maybe part of your architecture, not kind of inside of your like a model. But yeah, not sure if that makes sense and answer your question.
I will put Milan on the spot. Milan, I know prompt caching is a hot topic. I guess you got just Harsh or Milan, just your perspective around the prompt caching question there. In its ability to help with distillation and performance.
No, I want to talk about as far as distillation goes. I know with prompt caching with Bedrock, we do offer that as one of the features in terms of your actual Gen application. I'm not completely aware with distillation, Milan, if you want to kind of touch on that more.
Prompt caching to be separate from the distillation process.
Exactly.
So two separate functions going on there.
Yeah. Okay. This is a comment with a question at the end, but essentially, Bedrock they're saying it seems that Bedrock's a unified interface to the underlying models. allowing the quick switch from model to model, really driving home the model choice here. But if features from the models are different, does that mean while I use Bedrock SDK, I may have to also include the model provider's SDK to implement specific model-related features?
Maybe I can take this one. So what is awesome at by utilizing Bedrock, for example, is that you can use any of the already existing AWS SDKs for multiple different programming languages. Let's go with the most use case of Boto3 with Python. So what happens when you want to change from one model to another on AWS Bedrock? You only make change of the model ID. So Anthropic models have one model ID. Other models from Meta have, like the llamas, have all other different model ID. Previously, in the past, some of the let's say LLMs that were provided on Bedrock had different API calls. But now with the Converse API, everything is unified. So setting up, let's say, specific settings for the LLMs like temperature, top K, top P, it's really straightforward. So it's basically a really simplified plug and play with all of the available models on Bedrock. So you do not need to, let's say, include the model provider's SDK to implement specific model related features. Everything that is apart from a model and it's on Bedrock can be easily integrated with the pure AWS SDK for that language when you use Bedrock as a service. I hope
Yeah.
this answers.
Great. Maybe I can add something to that question. So basically, also the main idea is to not be worried about the implementation and about using the same model all the time. As we have seen, everything is changing super quick. So the idea is to create all the pipeline, all the configuration, even all your business cases with a model that makes sense. Even in Bedrock, you are able to get some tests for your final LLM and see if makes sense with your use case. And then if another model just came up, you can just plug and play as fast as it sounds, and you can try to test with your use cases and just go for the deployment super quick. So that is the AWS idea about flexibility and fast deployment.
Maybe in the terms of Deepseek, like Deepseek dropped a couple of weeks ago, and you can, with Bedrock, you can easily plug and play it. But what happens if tomorrow or even today something else drops, like the new Deepseek or new open source model? With Bedrock, you only need to do 3 clicks and change, like literally one line of code, one string, and you will have the new model used for your use case.
Exactly.
Which is awesome.
We'll add one more thing there. I know we keep adding onto this question. I think what both the folks here mentioned is extremely important. You want to build an architecture that isn't model dependent, especially like Christian mentioned. Things are coming out really fast. That's the whole idea behind Bedrock, is it's a single API call. It's just a parameter you need to change. So when you're designing your architecture and designing your next application, just ensure that you're not depending on any single model, because things will change fast. And the last thing you want to be stuck with is you're lagging behind simply because now you have to change your whole architecture.
Add an additional comment on there, and as you invoke the model API, you select the model. You might not need to use that one model for the whole use case. You may use specialized models that do specific summarization tasks or paraphrasing tasks specific for the task, and then later on you may use a larger model for some comprehension. And so for that one use case, you may use 2 or 3 models along the way to get to a final piece of accuracy that you're looking for that individual use case. So don't always limit to one model. Specifically throughout that use case, break it down into subtasks and say, am I using the right model for this specific task, optimizing for both the cost and latency?
There's a question that came in. Distillation seems to be a hot topic at the moment, I'll say. In distilling models, does it impact things such as context size, or are there other impacts to going down the path of distillation?
I can take that, and maybe Boyan can give me more help with that. However, one of the ideas behind distillation is basically the size. We want to compress everything and get more lighter models, as we saw here in the presentation. And this is not just, this is going to be a trend right now. We are going to get more models, like lighter models with huge capabilities. And we are seeing also techniques that try to, for example, in the layers, in the architecture, kind of try to delete some part of the layer, the big layer that are not that important, and then get really good performance. So it's gonna be a trend. And then you can see straightforward that you lose something. Yeah, everything has a cost, and in this case is gonna be the accuracy. But the promise here is that you're gonna lose not that much. For example, if you see the 1.5 lighter model, you can see that you lose about I think 13 or 14% on accuracy. But when you see what you are gaining is like a huge, it's super cheap. And then if you compare with the Deepseek R1, for example, which is the teacher, is gonna be almost 500 times smaller. So it's kind of a trade-off. And what you have to do in terms of businesses is to see if definitely you can handle this accuracy that this like a model has. So this is kind of what you need to take in consideration.
Yeah, like you.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead. Can we specifically, sorry, I had to cut you off there. Just specifically speak to say, hey, like the context windows. Like if we still have context windows when we have distilled models, that's not a reduced feature as a result of a distilled model.
No, not at all, not at all. Yeah, I think the accuracy is what is changing, and that's why the recommendation in Loka we usually do that in our project is to get like a test bed of our use case, and then always test our like a pipeline with those tests and see if the model accommodate to our business case. And then maybe if, for example, the 1.5 billion parameters model is not sufficient for our case, we can just move for another. And also that makes sense if we in the future see other model, and then we can plug and then we check if the accuracy of a given model is enough for our use case.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to combine two questions here. And Kevin, hopefully got your answer. You know where to find me if not. So one of the questions we got, and it falls in line with the slides we're on here, so I think it's a good place to be. But which use case is a model like Deepseek well suited for? That's question one, just very direct. The next one would be, how do I determine, you're talking about distillation impacting cost. What tools exist to understand the costing conversation as it relates to the trade-offs potentially around accuracy? Does that make sense? So how do I understand cost of individual models, and where might Deepseek be the best fit?
Yeah, I might have. Go ahead, Milan. No worries.
Yeah, I could take the first part of that question. And the first part of that question is, what use cases would we use Deepseek for? Well, Deepseek is a general purpose the model. So you can use Deepseek to get a baseline of where you want, and then you can start to improve or refine that individual POC. But I would say Deepseek was built on Llama 70 billion, so it's a general purpose, foundation model. And so generally, you can use that in any type of instance or any type of use case to get a really good litmus for a baseline, and then from there you can start to refine or bring in different tools or different models to support as needed.
How about the costing side? I know Playground has some of this baked in, Milan. Like as you go start to mess with some of the costing, I guess what between AWS and Loka, what have you all seen in terms of customers understanding the cost impact of model choice?
Yeah, maybe I can give some ideas about it. Even yeah, when you use Bedrock and SaveMaker, you have different kind of approach for the cost. So, for example, you can, I mean, in SaveMaker, you are more flexible in terms of configuration, but also in terms of cost, for example. So you can choose different machines, and then based on your loads and your requests, for example, you can plan beforehand how big do you need to be able to answer all the queries, right? So you can calculate more or less your, for example, our cost in Bedrock, in SaveMaker, and then even if you can go further when you use inferential or inf2, those costs will be even better for you. But it's like a depend, or even your use case that you choose, for example, Bedrock, and then you can go for like a SaveMaker for improve even your cost, or even for inferential in SaveMaker. So it's kind of tricky. Originally we had this in the presentation. However, that's why we are writing a blog post just entirely on that subject, and how compare the different approaches in terms of deployment, and how we see these costs rising or go lower depending on our deployment.
Yeah, I
So
think
Christian, if I heard you correctly, so if we were to sum that up, just it's SageMaker, it's going to be based on the amount of compute, of that resource that you put together. And then in Bedrock, it's more just consumption based on the number of tokens you use. And you have
Exactly.
complete visibility to that, as well as access to various calculators that can help you put your POC and give you estimates on what those workloads would potentially look like.
Exactly.
here's what I would also add to that is that's why we're here. That's why we have a partner. That's why we have the AWS teams. We've built calculators because it's not just about what model you choose. It's the types of questions you're not types, but size of questions you're asking and size of output you're getting. And so this is where it becomes a bit unique in every single case. But there are a few questions that we can ask to help get to and understand potential costs, because all of these projects must deliver an ROI, and we're either making things more efficient or we're saving money. And that's a trade-off. That's always a trade-off in every decision we're making in our world. So we can help navigate that. We can also help understand what others have done in the past and learn from those lessons. So that's the big thing. If you're going to hit scale, if we're going to hit scale, AWS, we need partners who are out here doing this. And so I want to reiterate that these conversations don't have to stop here, and we can continue them. So we have 2 minutes left. I think we've covered everything that is in the chat. I am saying here, yeah. So, correct me if I'm wrong. From anyone on the okay, Tanya, thank you. We are all covered, and we're going to give you 2 minutes back. What I will say is we have we're not going to give you 2 minutes back. I'm gonna close it out real quick here. We have put a link in the chat. Our ask is that you provide some insight, like reach out to this team on how to get moving. And sometimes it's not getting moving, but how to get unstuck. We'll take that on as well. And so AWS alongside the Loka team are happy to engage with you in any of the challenges that you may have or questions you may be facing today. And many of the first onset conversations are all about the initial conversation and where do we go from here. And those are just, that's just goodwill. That's just us doing the right thing. And so please, reach out to us. There are also, as Daniel's pointing out here, deployment articles and solutions that are in this link to help you get started. So it's not just a contact me page. It's intended to put some information in your hands as well. So we appreciate the attendance today. And yeah, how did you like the webinar? Post in the Zoom chat before you head out here. Not for me. I like this. Love this more, please. Wow. Love those options. So please post before you go so we can feel good about ourselves or potentially get it back on the rails here. Thanks, everybody. And thanks to the panelists for their preparation and for all the conversation today. Thank you.
Have a good day, everyone.
All right, thank you.
Thanks for joining in.
Ciao, ciao.
Cheers, bye.
Thank you.